So you will be asked to accept that, just in case you're new to Zoom. And if I stop, it might be because somebody is trying to get in and I want to make sure I get them in. All right. If any of you are unfamiliar with me, my name is Jessica Campbell, and I put in a DCN candidate. That is for Doctor of Clinical Nutrition, because that is my latest studies. And my husband is really hoping that I decide to at some point stop studying, but I probably never will, because I love the science of food, the study of food, and especially food as medicine. And I just, from really 2014, when I started this business and started the detox, it is not that much different. I mean, there has been a lot of help with Carrie just making all of the PDFs beautiful and helping put it together in this platform that we work on. But the information is just more nuanced, and it's just different for the different types of people, whether you're, just had children or going through menopause, or your kids are in puberty. It's just very different. And I've just found out new tricks and ways to make it more accessible for people. And so I wanted to be able to share that, and each year just give sort of some new differences. So why detox, especially in January? This is when I think it's the most easiest. Maybe, hold on, I can turn this into a slideshow and make it a little bit more pretty for you. Does that look better? Thank you. Sorry, just watching, making sure everybody's getting in and everybody's seeing everything. So, there's a lot of different reasons. I think sometimes we just have, this is a stomach and showing inflammation, essentially. Inflammation has those 4 trademark signs. There's heat, like if you think of a sprained ankle, right? There's heat, there's swelling in the gut, that kind of feels like bloating. There's redness, like if you see it, if you were to see the inside tissues when they do an endoscopy or a colonoscopy. And then there's pain, which stomach pain can run the gamut. It can start up where we're having that kind of heartburn, or it can be lower where we're having indigestion, all the way down to where we're just having trouble going to the bathroom and more straining. So inflammation for me is a huge part of the focus, because I think when we look at all of the different diseases and we think, what can food do? How can it have the biggest impact? How can diet have the biggest impact? And it's where medicine is not using tools, right? Medicine is giving you a pill. They're trying to cover up the symptoms. They're trying to stop you from having pain, which is lovely right away, but it's really not healing. And so what we're trying to do is get in and think, well, why is this pain or inflammation happening in the first place? And how can we remove that inflammation so that we feel better? And then our digestion is in a way where you eat because you're hungry, you stop eating because you're full, and then a couple hours later, you feel like you need to go to the bathroom. There really shouldn't be these feelings in between that we have thought is so normal. I think especially women, because you're dealing with your kids or your job or your, so many things that we're focusing on everybody else, that we're like, oh, that little stomach pain, that's fine. I'm gonna be okay. Maybe get a hot water bottle or something. So we really want to remove all those symptoms because they're not normal. And what I found out doing the first detox was, oh my gosh, this is not normal. I mean, I had them all, from acid reflux to heartburn to bloating to that gas that won't come out. It's just in there like a huge pain. And you're like, great, I wish I could fart, but it's not even that I can, because I'd be embarrassed. I can't get it out. To really painful bowel movements, right? Everything in between. And to go 28 days of being on a detox where you don't feel those anymore. It just gets me to do it every single year. And if you're just coming in, I am recording this, so that's why you see some people on screen, some people off, but you will get back the few minutes that you may have missed. As a side effect, you can lose weight. That's a huge bonus for a lot of people, but really weight gain it's a side effect that something is imbalanced in the body. So I hate to use the word hate, but I don't want you to think you're just going into a detox to lose weight and you want it to happen as fast as possible, because that really is a superficial way to look at like what's really going on in my body and why is this happening, and do I really need to lose like 20 pounds to feel comfortable, or am I just not feeling comfortable? And we can do a lot about that and improve health. And then weight becomes kind of a secondary issue where it starts to fade because your body is no longer holding on to excess calories, thinking that it needs it because maybe you were not eating enough food in the first place, or it's inflamed and bloated and it feels like a bunch of weight, but it's not necessarily that you need to. What I would hate to see is somebody go into a detox and think you need to eat less than 1,500 calories a day. And I know because I work in a clinic where I've seen people do things like an HCG diet where they eat 500 calories a day. Yeah, you're going to lose weight. You're going to lose muscle and energy, the ability to make hormones, and all of these other things that you're going to deprive your body so much. Or my son's in wrestling right now and had to lose 2 pounds in 3 days. And then he was tanked after he lost the weight and then felt terrible. So I'm going to speak to them today and help them learn too. Let's lose weight as a natural way of just getting the body balanced and healthy. And the other is feeling toxic. And you don't need to feel super toxic, but you just might feel like, hey, like I drank too much over the holidays. It happens. We're human. We shouldn't feel bad about that, but maybe we want to just cleanse the body. And what I hate to see in January is people do these really crazy cleanses that are really unnecessary because the body detoxifies naturally every day. We are all exposed to things like heavy metals when we get a vaccine that we may need. We are exposed to mold when we have a really humid environment. We are exposed to pesticides in the food when we can't get organic. We are exposed to smog and so much pollution, but our body is actually built to detoxify. We just need a little help doing it when we overwhelm the system like we might do in December and New Year's and all the holidays. So let me see there we go. So I don't want you to get super, super overwhelmed by this beautiful graphic that Carrie helped me really make as simple as possible. And this is why I want you to have the recording in case you want to go back to it. But liver detoxification, this is your beautiful liver. And what happens is that all these toxins enter and they're fat soluble. And if you've ever made salad dressing, you know what this means with fat soluble. Like the olive oil and the water don't mix, right? Vinegar, they separate. Or soup, when you leave soup in the fridge and all the fat rises to the top. Fat and water don't mix. And so these fat soluble toxins are not going to just go out in pee and poo. For just very easy words to understand, right? They just don't mix. So they sit not in the liver, like if you were to eat a liver, it's not full of them, but they're going through the system and they're trying to basically, they will get stored in a fat cell because they are fat and that's where they will stick. In order to go through phase 1 of detoxification that happens mostly in your liver, you need all these vitamins. And this is all that I really want you to think of. You need B vitamins. Best source is going to be in protein, which is why we're going to really emphasize protein. Folic acid, that is those green leafy vegetables. It's really like folate and what you probably took when you were pregnant. Vitamins A and D, these are fat-soluble vitamins, and we need them to bind and help. Calcium, and we need a lot of antioxidants, vitamin C, vitamin E, and glutathione. Glutathione you may not have heard of, but it's like the master antioxidant that your body makes as long as it's healthy and not overwhelmed. This process will just happen. The problem happens here when we need to go from phase 1 to phase 2. They turn into these really active metabolites that are called reactive oxygen species. You might see that, and they're oxidized. They're kind of rusting, and we need antioxidants, right? That's why everybody's talking about why we need antioxidants, because oxidizing in the cells, that is cancerous. That is going to be carcinogenic, and that happens to us every single day. But people that have higher amounts of fruits and vegetables with these antioxidants are able to balance that out, because the antioxidants come and they're like buffing out the rest, which is why we're going to talk about just really ramping up the fruits and vegetables and those antioxidants. Then once they get to phase 2, they're still not leaving the body, right? But phase 2 is like, okay, the antioxidants came around like little nannies and they gathered up all the crazy reactive oxygen species. So they're not going to, go cause all sorts of problems. The nannies are holding them, but we need to get them to be water soluble to go through urine, bile, bowel movement, or sweat even. What happens is we need choline and sulfur and magnesium and all these amino acids, which are again in proteins, and why this detox has never been vegetarian or vegan. Not that you can't be, you can, but you need so many amounts of these that I have just found it easier to not eliminate entire healthy food groups if you do not need to. Of course, some people have, for religious reasons, not going to eat meats. Then we really need to talk about how to get some more amino acids, because we need to get them through. And things like bone broth, eggs, and fish, just time and time again, they're going to help move things through. Eggs, because they have a lot of amino acids and the sulfur. So they're kind of like a 2-in-1. Now we can mix and match and get these things using different proteins and then adding sulfur with cruciferous veggies, which is why you've probably heard all the times of cruciferous veggies and broccoli, and people take concentrated broccoli. Why? Because we're trying to ramp up this phase 2. Then it can go into what I call phase 3, or the waste. Then it can be eliminated from the body, which should happen every day. And if it's not, then we're going to get a backup, and things like alcohol and drugs and medications and pesticides are all going to gum up this process and make you need more fruits, more veggies, more protein. And when you start to see detoxing as a nutrient necessary process, we really need to help give our body enough to let it just do this process naturally. We don't need to push this through with a heavy cleansing process. It just needs nutrients, and it's going to run on its own. So when we do the detox, we bring in all of these things. We bring in, these have been building and building over the years. We've always had the list. I keep trying to make the list as easy as possible to, like, what can I eat? So you can just grab it. What can I eat? People always think, what can I eat, when we're taking away food. And I know, because the first time I did a detox, I lasted like not even 24 hours. All I could think about was what I could not eat. And that's what I wanted. So to focus on, like, there's unlimited amount of meats. Why? Because we just saw they are so helpful in getting all of those amino acids. Limited, I put all of the processed ones, because when we look at things like bacon and jerky and sausages and salami, we're seeing a lot of additives. And I know it's really small. You will be able to get the recording and then blow it up and look at it, or in the detox you get the PDF so you can print it out, or if you've done it before, you have the PDF. Of course, we are redoing it almost every year, right? Like, we just keep adding it. Eggs, soups, unlimited seafood, vegetables, citrus. I do limit the fruit, and you might think, wait, you just said like fruits and vegetables are so good. It's also because we're trying to limit sugars, and vegetables are so much better than sugars that I'm just trying to push you towards the vegetables. But I will talk again about how to cheat. Like I would much rather you see you eat 2 apples than, well, I can only have 1 apple a day, so I'm going to have these Nutter Butters. Like, they're not like, cheat on the fruit. I'm just trying to limit the sugar so that you think to grab the veggies and you think to grab the proteins. And because not a lot of fruits are in season right now. So, I mean, really like an orange, a pomegranate, apples, a persimmon, are almost out though. We could go frozen, but really we want to try to stay seasonal, and this time of year is not very fruit heavy. So when I do the summer detox, which since I've been in the doctorate program, I have not done every season, but I will be graduating in September and I will go back to a little bit more seasonal detoxes. The fruit, I usually add a lot more. The summer one, I add a lot more fruit. Limited dairy, I don't take out dairy completely. There's so much research and so many studies. And from what I have seen, not everybody has trouble with dairy. If you do, you don't have to eat it. None of this list is you have to eat this. I will always help you find an alternative, and you can absolutely do this dairy-free. I try to keep it down to a 1/4 cup a day, because what the studies show is that lactose intolerance is like a scale. And we sometimes hit a point, I've hit it. And at about a 1/4 cup, they show most people can adapt. And what I'm trying to help you do is build tolerance so that you don't have this really limited diet all the time and start developing other problems. If you don't eat dairy, you will start to lose lactase enzymes that break down dairy. So if you're really going in, like maybe you have lactose intolerance and you eat it and then you have really stinky diarrhea right afterwards. So it's a great idea not to eat it anymore. But go in as like, I'm not going to eat it anymore. If you're going in saying, I don't know if dairy works for me or not, or cheese, or, maybe it makes you constipated, without taking all of the inflammatory foods out, you don't really know what the problem is, but it's probably the sugar and the alcohol and the processed foods. And from what I have seen, people have eaten these selections and not really had a problem. So they're there for you as an option. We just put together this year the shopping lists. We have one for Trader Joe's, Whole Foods, and Costco. Thanks, Carrie. And these are awesome. And just give you like what can you grab when you go there. If you've seen me post these before, they did have things like organic honey and things that I think are wonderful foods that I take away in the detox. Only because as soon as you take out sugar, you're going to start looking for honey and maple syrup or coconut sugar. You're going to look for the alternative. I know, because I've done this so many times. And I'm opening the cabinets. I'm looking for, what is sweet? And you really have to stop the sweets. Oh, and I see we left Lily's extremely dark chocolate bar on here. We will make that note and take that up. That's okay. We've been trying to fix them all. Don't think that that's okay. In a normal setting, it would be wonderful. But after 28 days, once you feel like, you know what, I don't need the sugar anymore, like I am doing great, then you go back to, I'm going to have this because I choose to, and I love it. And I'm going to, whatever, reward yourself for whatever you need that day. But it is interesting. And for me, I'm an absolute chocoholic to go 28 days and then realize I don't actually need chocolate after every single meal. Sorry, I just realized now I can see it better. And then the sample meal plan, we have a few of them now, and Carrie just put together this one that's a 1-page, which I love. And if you'll notice, it's not super detailed. I don't want you to feel like you have to read the menu and go find the recipe. These are just ideas of like, hey, scrambled eggs and spinach. Like maybe you don't have spinach. Okay, tomatoes and avocado. They're more like, try this, try this, try this. Just some ideas to help you when you're just totally stuck and don't know what to do. Proteins, we will really get into that in the beginning. And so I have a new PDF, but this is the one from before. It just shows you about how many grams really all of us need. Everybody needs. If you look up your weight in pounds into kilograms, you need a gram per kilogram of body weight minimum to make your blood, to make hair. If you're like, my hair is not growing, my eyebrows are falling out, my fingernails aren't long, you don't have enough protein. If you wanted to put on muscle, like like your kids going through puberty or trying to put on muscle, or going through menopause and kind of losing muscle or feeling osteoporosis, and you want to support your bones, you really want a gram per pound of body weight. And you can go, well, I'm about like 10 pounds over. So like if I were to cut it back, that would be my ideal. But that would be in order to build more muscle. So somewhere in there will be your happy spot between 1 gram per kilogram and 1 gram per pound. But we don't want to go lower. And most people, when they're not eating enough, are not eating a gram per kilogram, and that's really low. And you will start to see your skin won't heal as fast. And then in disease-wise, it gets a lot more important, especially if somebody was, like on chemotherapy, or, we need to really double it, sometimes even triple it, to get enough protein to help that liver detox. This is one that we just did. And if you're on Instagram, you might have seen it. We put it up there. I'm not saying eat all these things, right? First of all, but just look. I'm not a big calorie counter, but I want you to just see that this is why chicken and tuna have been on like everybody's diet list, or, Weight Watchers, or different types of things. 170 calories to get 30 grams of protein. That's like an amazing, you want to get as many grams of protein with as little calories. So like in order to get 30 grams of protein in bacon, you need 11 slices, right? And now we're up to 400 calories. Not that any of you are going to eat 11 slices, but you're going to mix and match different things. And look at peanut butter. If you wanted to get all of that grams of protein from peanut butter, you're like 800, 750 calories already a day. Like a typical person will have about 2,000. That's what we need. But we can drop that down to 1,500 if we really wanted to lose weight. You cannot go under 1,500 or you will start to lose muscle, energy. You're in what is called a starvation diet, and I can't condone it. It's just not a healthy way to do it. But you can do it here, adding in a salmon. I mean, another wonderful choice. Even steak, like what a surprise that we think of it as such a bad food. You see in quinoa, like you would need almost 4 cups, and you're at like 833. So when I do a quinoa, which I love because it's a great protein rich grain, but I'm going to do no more than a cup or a half a cup and try to add something into it, right? I put tofu on here. I used to take away soy, but in all of the research, the problem with soy is that it's not a food problem. It's actually a really great protein, especially for women. Even with breast cancer, which is where the research was so shady in the beginning, I was so afraid, I just took it completely out. The problem is in the processing. We are just massively growing it in a monoculture, spraying it with pesticides, and then processing it. And by the time it gets to you, it's like if you were to ever see a real homemade Japanese tofu, which I had the pleasure of in New York, and then that extra firm block in the grocery store, you're like, oh, there's not one and the same. They are completely different products. So we really want to go organic and as clean as possible. And then I think that soy is actually a really good food, and I would add it back in as a choice. Almonds, again, like I love almonds, but when we're just making almond flour breads and almond flour and just kind of replacing everything to go gluten-free, we can see we're getting a ton of calories. And though I don't really want you to count your calories. I just want you to see why certain foods are so popular as great sort of diet foods. Like here, the ground beef patty. I don't know if you guys know, but like restaurants used to have cottage cheese, ground beef, and sliced tomatoes, and that was the diet plate. You know, we see why, like cottage cheese, and well, it's not on this page. It was on my protein page when you go back. They're very low calorie. The thing that they're also have in a lot of these. Oh, I wanted to go over this first. This is another thing that a lot of people ask me about protein powders and why during the detox, I would love you to think more about eating a whole food as opposed to a protein powder, unless you're really, really low. And then you can ask me, you can direct message me always, but we can get something like a pumpkin seed powder, something pure. Because if you look here, this was done by Diana Rogers, a registered dietitian. I'm not by myself, but you eat 25 grams of protein. That's what it says on the package. You digest maybe 92% of it. That isn't if you're not taking any antacids, you digesting great. 23 of it will get digested, 17 of it can be used. That's why we need 30 grams of protein. On kidney beans, it's down to 10. On a super hydrolyzed soy protein bar, it's also like reduced to about 10. You're not even getting half of the protein, which is why you might think like, gosh, I'm eating this Orgain protein powder and like I'm still not getting my hair and my fingernails growing. It's not always usable. The other thing is with fat. So a lot of times we're trying to eat really lean, you know, the lean chicken or the lean beef. But in order to remember that the toxins are fat soluble. So in order to get those through the liver and get to the protein stage, we need fat. So we need fat to be able to absorb the proteins. And these are really nice. All these PDFs are in the detox, by the way, but these are really nice, high quality fats and ones that you do not have to worry about eating too much of. I always like to tell people, if you just for a second, just so I can gross you out, make sure you're awake and listening, pretend I gave you a bowl of butter, not salted, unsalted butter, and a spoon. Maybe you haven't had lunch, maybe you haven't had breakfast, depending on where you are in the world right now, what time of day it is, but just imagine eating that bowl of unsalted butter. And how much of it could you eat before you're like getting a little nauseous, because your liver will go, done. I'm satiated. I'm done. I'm ready to release bile and wash all of this out. If I were to give you secretly, like nobody in the room, you've been on the plane, let's do this, for 2 hours sitting on the runway because you know they can't dock. You haven't eaten anything in hours, and they give you a tin of butter cookies. How many could you eat? And I'm telling you honestly, I could probably eat the whole tin because you will never get that same satiation of being full. So the more you eat foods with their natural fat, the butter, the nuts, the olives, the olive oil, you will get full naturally. And the more you eat the foods that are synthetic, down here are highly processed, like a vegetable oil, you will never get satiated and will always be able to overeat. Potato chips. I mean, come on. I could eat a whole bag of like giant Lay's easily. You're never going to feel satiated, but that salt on it or the sugar is going to totally confuse your brain. Or if it's deep fried, the crunch, everything will confuse your brain and you will totally overeat. So really important to make sure you are eating the healthy, high quality fats. We're not trying to deprive you. I hope you're learning in this detox at all. We're trying to get enough, because these fats are what are turned into hormones. If you're low in hormones, you are probably low in fats. They will turn into lustrous hair and shiny skin. They will coat the nerves in your central nervous system. And this is really important in why people right now with dementia or Alzheimer's, we really don't have any medications to solve it. only have medications to try to delay it. And what we are giving them holistically in combination is massive amounts of fish oil, like 4 grams a day to 8 grams a day. Because the fat on their nerve, if you think of a nerve, it's like this, like your phone cord. And inside is all of this electrical charge, which is why when you have a nerve pain, you're like, oh. If it does not have this fatty coating, you will feel brittle and nervous and have a lot of central nervous system problems. So what we're doing now is trying to bring back to this group of aged people that were very often taught in the beginning, don't eat fat. Make sure it's all vegetable and Crisco. Make sure you're using Crisco. And they're really suffering from a lot of these problems. So we need to start now getting back and nourishing with these fats and not thinking of them in a bad place. Here's what's happening in our diet, the fats, what's happening in inflammation. Oh, over here. Omega-3, I'm sure you've heard of the omega-3s. They're on the right here. That's your salmon and your walnuts and your flax and your fatty fish. And omega-3s actually reduce inflammation by coating the nerves, reducing that inflammation, coating the brain, giving your muscles and everything back this lustrous coating, whereas omega-6 raises inflammation. Now, we do need a little bit of omega-6. Omega-6 is really high in like meat and nuts, dairy, and plants. We do need a little, because when you sprain your ankle, oh my gosh, I hope it inflames so that you don't keep walking on it. Because if you keep walking on it, you're going to break it, right? So it's really important to inflame. If you get a little infection, yeah, we want it to inflame so that it stops the infection from going everywhere in the body. The problem is these foods on the left, and although you might think, well, I don't eat French fries and popcorn, vegetable oil is going to be in anything you buy in the store that's already made. Everybody is going to use a vegetable oil, a canola oil, a cheaper oil. This is why UC Davis went and studied the olive oils, because they were only giving 51% of olive oil, and then they could call it olive oil, and the rest was some cheap vegetable oil. And I did a blog on that. So if afterwards you're like, wait a minute, give me that list. I have a blog that gives the list of all the good foods and all the good oils. And there are ones at Costco and Trader Joe's. It doesn't have to be the super expensive ones. They just tested who was actually cheating and who was giving the real oil. Any type of oil, as soon as it's put into a processed bun or bread or cake, then it is basically converted into something that's like a trans fatty acid or hydrogenated, and it won't be able to be used by the body, so it will be put in a fat cell. And so this is where that inflammation becomes not only higher and bloated, but we're just beefing up our fat cells, and they don't weigh as much as muscle. So that's why when we lose this inflammation, we all of a sudden feel better, but we only lose like a teeny bit of weight, and why we just need to look at the big picture of like, oh, I'm not as puffy and inflamed anymore. And our scale in primitive times, why a lot of people talk about the paleo times, we balanced the fish and the plants with the meat and the nuts, and it was more balanced. And now it's very skewed. We eat a lot more convenience foods and a lot less walnuts, flax, fatty fish. So this is something that we will talk about all along on how we can balance it so that we don't have to take fish oil for the rest of our lives. It's always better to get it in the food. A lot of times I use it though when I see inflammation to skew it back and then try to go back to using the food. This page, carbs are third macronutrients, right? We always are trying to balance our protein, our fat, and our carbs. Protein, our fat, and our carbs. I like to think about it more as protein, fat, and fiber. This is a picture of the gut bacteria on the top. This was done at Stanford by the Sonnenbergs. And what you're seeing is the green is the lining of your gut. I have maybe talked to a lot of people about that. That's the lining of your intestine. If you think of your intestine, it's like the lining of a sausage. It's very thin. This is massively overblown. And it can inflame, and then food will pass through and you'll get like an allergenic response. And this is where we see like people think they're sensitive or allergic. Behind it is the bloodstream. So we need to absorb things like water and vitamins into the bloodstream, but we need to break it down to go through that lining, and all of the pretty confetti, this is all the bacteria. So we have to feed our gut bacteria. I like to say you are what, people say you are what you eat, but I say you are what your gut bacteria eat, because if you don't have any, maybe you took antibiotics and wiped them all out, then there's no way to break down the fiber, and you're not going to get the nutrients and all those antioxidants and everything from them. The more different confetti, the more different bacteria, the more things you can break down and get into the body. So that's why we do like the 40 plant species challenge, trying to get as many different kinds, because most people, I mean, admit it, you're like blueberries and oatmeal in the morning every day, my salad and chicken at lunch. And we just sort of get in this like, okay, I'm eating blueberries, they're healthy, blueberry and oatmeal in the morning, my salad and chicken at lunch, and we kind of eat the same thing day to day to day to day. I see it a lot in food journals. And really one of the things we have to do is variety. If you could just take it one step to raspberries, and then maybe the next week, blackberries. We've got to feed the different bacteria, and they all eat different things. And what they should look like is this garden where there's so many different species that they're all in balance. And what happens when we have that pain and inflammation, this bacteria has been wiped out. Maybe we took an antibiotic, maybe we ate a lot of pesticides that will kill them off. Maybe there's a lot of stress. Maybe we're taking an antacid. What will grow when you wipe them all out is a weed, right? And that will be something like staph. If you've heard of somebody getting a staph infection, C. diff, Clostridium difficile, strep. Strep is in every single one of our guts. I do a lot of gut tests and see it. We see it when it comes and pops up in the throat. That's just it overgrowing. It's always there. Giardia, like these things that we pick up, right? The more your gut is in balance and full of bacteria, the healthier your entire system will be, and the more you will digest, and the less disease and inflammation and everything you will have. So we do this, we do it, and I think it's the second week, the 40 plant species, where in 1 week we try to eat 40 different species. And it sounds like a lot, and it's actually not that hard, because you can buy things like a mixed salad bag that already has 7 species. And you can put olive oil, which is from an olive plant. You can use spices, lentils. You could throw 3 different colors of lentils, or mixed rice, wild rice. And I mean, even my kids, when they were like 9 and 12, did it just fine. They were like, oh, okay, that wasn't that bad. Just trying to get you out of your comfort zone and into eating a lot of different varieties. These are things I'm going to be doing on Instagram too. So if you don't do the detox with us, you'll be able to see and maybe follow if you're not doing the whole thing. At least for anybody, it would benefit you to try to do a 40 different plants in a week. One thing we really focus on is hydration. I know for me, I'm going to take a drink. That was so hard for me in the beginning. And I have had patients, a doctor that said, oh my goodness, I can't believe I just paid you to tell me I'm not drinking enough water. She was so embarrassed. But if you're having these early signs, like a lot of fatigue, a lot of headaches, cramps, cravings, don't let it get to these late signs, because it's a lot harder to unravel. You know, the nervous system needs those fats, but we need to get through to the phase 3 elimination, and we have to have enough water. And coffee doesn't count, and wine doesn't count as much as I wish all of those things counted. Anything that's a diuretic with caffeine in it is going to make you lose water. So then you have to kind of add more. You really want to drink half of your body weight in ounces every day. And for me, it's like literally having a glass in front of me all the time, making sure I have one in the morning before the coffee or tea. And then if I am out at a dinner, and this is not while you're on the detox because we avoid alcohol, but when you are having a glass of wine, to always have water with it, to always make sure, because most hangovers are from dehydration. And most of these things are that our body is just not getting enough water to flush everything out, to make sure you're having at least 1 bowel movement a day, and hopefully 2, maybe even 3 when you're done with the detox. Not that I'm smiling that it's fun to go to the bathroom all day, but because if you told me that in my 20s, I would have been like, yeah, right. Like twice a week is fine. So it's just, I hear it from a lot of people, like that's never going to happen. And then by the end, they're like, oh my gosh, it's happening. Like I'm going to the bathroom. I feel like I just lost a pound there, right there. Okay. How we eat, we don't just talk about what to eat. We really like to talk about how to eat. And something I've implemented lately that is really helpful is, I know you've all heard of intermittent fasting and everybody's trying to do it. And it is different between men and women. A lot of the studies are done on all of medical on men. And so as Stacy Sims, a PhD at Stanford, likes to say, women are not small men. So stop doing studies on men and then dividing it in 3/4 and giving that number for women. So fasting, a man can just decide to skip breakfast and all of a sudden they're losing weight and they're doing fine. They have a lot less hormonal picture going on and their systems are a lot different. For us, what works best is a 12-3. 12 hours at night, when up here you're getting your deepest sleep and you're creating melatonin, everybody should fast. If we are not fasting 12 hours at night, like between dinner and breakfast, I see a lot of problems start to occur. We're really off the circadian rhythm. We're no longer connected to our environment and what's going on in the light of day that increases digestion, and then the darkness at night that creates melatonin. And then 3 of those hours should be before bed. And this is where I think a lot of us fail, right? We like to snack at night. We like the midnight snack. We like to have popcorn on the couch with everybody watching movies, or we think we just need that little piece of chocolate and we have it so far away from our food. So really giving yourself 3 hours. If you're having any type of heartburn, reflux, indigestion, then you probably are not giving enough time to digest the food before you go to bed. Because then once you go to bed, your body will detoxify only if digestion is done. Digestion is a priority and it's going to skip everything else. During the day, what we want to try to get to is meals 4 hours apart. Now, this is where we used to always tell people, oh, eat small meals and eat all day. And then we turn into snackers. And it's just like if we're trying to keep a metabolism fire going, it's like throwing paper and paper and paper and paper, and it's exhausting and you're always hungry and you're always needing snacks, and then your body will never burn off the fat or the storage that is already there. And we want it to do that because it's more efficient. It's more efficient to burn the fat because that's like when you have an oil lamp, right? And it just burns nice and slow, not like throwing paper, 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 paper. This is kind of where the ketogenic diet is all about, burning fat. We don't have to go that far to be on a ketogenic diet. We just need to try to eat enough food that we're satiated and can go 4 hours. And I never mean to go 4 hours if you're shaky and feeling hangry. You know what? You're just not there yet. Give yourself a little slack. Eat because your blood sugar is low and we don't want that. And then maybe the next day, you'll go a little bit longer. Eventually, maybe after 28 days, you'll be able to go 4 hours apart. Like give yourself some room to grow. We don't have to hit the goal on day 1, even though it killed us to do so. We just want to know that 4 hours, that will give you time to get hungry again and to start burning away fat cells. And all of us have fat cells, and those are where the toxins lie. So we want to get rid of those and let the body really get into burning the energy that we have stored. If it happens that dinner and lunch are like going to be 6 hours apart, have a healthy snack, right? And a healthy snack means we're going to have a little protein, a little healthy fat, and a little fiber. Always trying to get those things. And so Carrie helped us put together this beautiful, just sort of some snack ideas so that we made sure that everything had a little bit of protein, a little bit of healthy fat, and a little bit of fiber. And obviously you could switch them around and get something that is better for you. We will talk a lot about mindful eating. I can't tell you how many people I have to give like digestive enzymes and stomach acid to replace what's really bad behavior. And I had it, so I know eating as fast as you can, or eating in the car before your next appointment, or eating 2 minutes between the next meeting, or turning off your camera and eating at the screen. Your stomach has no idea that the food is coming, so it's not going to create enough stomach acid. And if it doesn't create enough stomach acid, the whole rest of digestion doesn't work. So if we're taking any type of antacid, or if we're not slowing down, what you should feel is saliva. So in order to get saliva where your mouth is like, oh my gosh, my mouth is watering, I'm so hungry, you need to see the food, you need to smell it and touch it. And this is where cooking is so important. And if you don't cook or don't have time, prepping, or at least just taking a moment to pull out, strawberries not really in season right now, but like an apple, cut it, hear the sound, smell it, really taste, like even just touch it to the tongue to taste it, see if the mouth will start to salivate, because that saliva has enzymes that breaks down the carbs. So they're not going to get down into your gut and sort of bloat up. Then it should kick on your stomach acid and you should feel growling almost. I know you felt that, right? Like you go to somebody's house and they're not quite ready and you're like, oh my gosh, I smell it, like I'm so hungry. And you feel it, like my mouth's watering right now saying it because I got home late and didn't have enough lunch. So I'm really ready to eat that strawberry in the picture. My mouth is watering, my stomach will start growling here in a minute. And that is what we want when we're hungry. And what sometimes we might just need to wait until we feel that feeling before eating. Tune back in. That is the major information that I wanted to give you today. I'm really trying to keep it more short and sweet. Sometimes I have a tendency to just bleh, so much information. We are going to talk a lot more about gratitude as we're going through the detox, about exercise, about sleeping, about mindfulness, and about stress. A lot of health problems are revolved around stress. Especially I've seen that amplify since 2020. And I know some of you are practitioners that could absolutely speak on that. So there is a lot more that we speak of together. Like I said, you can do the detox alongside of us. I will be posting day to day on Instagram and what we're doing. But we are going to offer everyone that's here a $99 off coupon code to do it. And that is only if you've never done it before with us. If you have done it, again, you should have gotten the email to get it at 50% off. If not, you can absolutely go to foodfoundation.com and my email's there, or make sure you put it in the chat and let Carrie and I know, and we'll make sure that you get it. The meetings are going to be every Friday at noon. They're basically like this. Although I probably won't talk as long because I really want your input so that you're sharing kind of what's going on, where you need help, like, oh my gosh, I need another lunch. What am I going to eat for lunch? Whatever it is that's going on, there's a lot of people that have done it before, or maybe have some tips and can really help get you through it. And so we will start the actual detox on Monday. You will want to be registered before Monday. I wanted to give you this weekend to try to get the recipes and the books and just some ideas to go through. It always sounds hard in the beginning, and you can add, there's people here who have done it, like, it's not as hard. It's just like the first day where you're going bread. You know, 5 o'clock, wine, 8 o'clock, chocolate. And then we get over it. And if you mess up and eat it, we keep going. You know, it's a little bit like not just giving up, but just really taking that time to nourish yourself, to focus on yourself, and to make sure that you're doing this for a really nourishing reason to get it back on track, and to not get stuck in an elimination diet, but to help build some habits of like, okay, now I'm eating new fibers, and now I'm drinking more water, and I've got this, and I'm now at the end, I feel like I can go out for Valentine's Day and have, you know, chocolate, and maybe I don't need all the things. Maybe I don't need French fries and a beer and cake and ice cream, but I'm going to pick one thing that's going to make me feel really special or fun. So I am going to stop the recording so that I'm going to be able to share this.